That's learning the facts. They can start right here. 3 ways to think of multiplication. The equal group, rows and columns, or that's also called the array, and there's the repeated addition. In any case, in all of these, it's basically repeated addition, but sometimes it appears in different forms, okay? So for example, we were talking about equal groups. If you have 2 packs of gum, each pack comes with 4. Okay? So if you want to see what's the total number of gum, then you would obviously take 4 added to 4, which is the same as adding 4 2 times, which is the same as adding 4 2 times. This is called the commutative property. Commutative property says that when you change the order of the numbers that you multiply together, the numbers that you multiply together are called factors, okay? Factors. And the answer is called the product, okay? When you change the order of the factors, the product, which is the answer, does not change, okay? That is called the commutative property of multiplication, okay? So what does that mean? That means that if you know 2 times 3, then you know what 3 times 2 is. So when you learn your multiplication table from, from 1 to 10,
you actually only need to learn half of the set. Not that you need to learn up to 5, but half of the set, and then you know the other half of the set. If you know 8 times 9, then you know 9 times 8, because they are the same 2 factors. So the answer is the same.
Which brings me to my next point. Okay, the inverse of multiplication is division. When you're learning multiplication, you should probably learn division along with it because they go together.
For example, you saw that 4 plus 4 equals 2 times 4 equals 8.
If you have 8 gums and you want to divide it into groups of 4, that's the same as 8 divided by 4, then you see that it should be 2, because you know that 2 times 4, which is adding 4 2 times, is equal to 8. So you know that if you have 8, you can split into 2 groups of 4. See that? 1 groups of 4, 2 groups of 4. So 8 divided by 4 equals 2. And similarly, if you don't want to split it into groups of 8, you want to split it into 2 groups, then you know the answer. You say that you have 8 grams, there's 2 people. You want to divide it up equally. Now, whenever we're talking about dividing, we are talking about equal groups, okay? Just like when we do multiplication, we are adding equal groups, okay?
Another way to think of it is you're dividing it into groups of 2, 8 into groups of 2. Now, since you know that 2 added 4 times is equal to 8, then
8 divided by 2 is equal to 4. See that? So
that's the fact family, because in this case you have more than 3 facts. In addition to subtraction, you have a fact triangle. This one you have 4 facts that are related, so it's more like a fact family.
So if you know that 4 times 2 is equal to 8, then you know that 2 times 4 is equal to 8 by the commutative property, switching the order, okay? And you also know that 8 divided by 2 is equal to 4, okay? And you know that 8 divided by 4 is equal to 2, because 4 added 2 times equals 8. 2 added 4 times equals 8, and so on, okay? So that's the
fact family for 4 times 2 or 2 times 4.
So learn the division also
when you learn a multiplication fact.
And that way, when you get to division, it's an easy transition, okay? When we do this, there's no remainder. When you do actual division, there might be remainder. But if you know your division facts, when you get to division with remainder, it's still easy, okay? It's basically repeated addition, okay? So again, if you have 3 times 5, that's the same as adding 3 5s together, okay? So if you don't know your fact, you just go 5 plus 5 is 10, 10 plus 5 is 15. But you want to learn your facts. 5 is easy, but you do when you have to add, like let's say you have to add 8. Let's say 8 times 3. If you have to add 8 times, okay, it gets kind of long, right? So that's why we want to learn our facts. Try to learn a few a day, 3 a day. What you want to do is you want to split it up to make it easy, okay? Now let's do the easy ones first. For example, what do you call the identity property? Anything times 1 is itself, right? 1 times 1 is 1. Because you're basically adding it to one time. So 1 plus 1 adding to 0, right? So 1 is itself. 1 plus 0 is just 1. 2 plus 0 is just 2, right? So anything times 1 is itself, the identity property, okay? So this one should be easy to remember, okay? So 9 times 1 is also 9, because 9 times 1 is the same as 1 times 9, okay? Switching the order doesn't matter, okay? So, and again, even if you have 118 times 1, that is still the same as 1 times 118, which is 118, okay? Remember that. That's called the identity property, because it remains its identity. When you multiply a number by 1, it retains its identity, okay? Identity property, okay? Now, the other thing that you should know, trivial one, is the zero property, okay? Anything times 0 is 0. It's saying if the bank has $1 million, but you don't own any bank, the answer is still 0, okay? You don't have any money if you don't own that bank, okay? So that's a zero property. Or it's saying if you have a bank, but the bank has $0 in it, that means you have $0, okay? If you own $1 million bank, but each bank has $0, you still have $0, okay? Try to remember your 2. Again, 2 is just double, okay? So 2 times 5 is the same as 5 plus 5, which is 10, okay? Now, if you don't know, then you can skip your 2. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, okay? But it's faster if you just remember your double. Now, 4 times 2 is the same as 2 times 4 equals 8. 6 times 2 is the same as 6 plus 6 is equal to 12. How do you know 6 plus 6 equals 12? Because if you know 5 plus 5 equals 10, then you know 6 plus 6 is just 2 more, because you have 1 more here and 1 more here, and that's going to be 12. See that? You can use the fact that you know to figure out the fact that you don't know. That's the other strategy, okay? But anyway, so for this week, just try to remember your 2. So each day, try to remember like 3 facts, like this one. In the morning, what's 2 times 5? What's 4 times 2? What's 6 times 2? Now remember, if you remember, you try to remember the facts that 5 times 2 equals 2 times 5 equals 10. So 5 times 2 is also equals 10. Remember that. And also, since you know that fact, you should know that 10 divided by 5 equals 2. And 10 divided by 2 equals 5, because they are all related, okay? This one, this one, this one, and this one, okay?
And you can have similar fact family for each of the multiplication facts.
So each day, even though you're learning 3 facts, but you're actually learning like 3 times 4, which is
3 times 4. Next time, we will learn about the double strategy to solve that.
This week, try to remember your 2. 2 times 1 is trivial, right? 2 times 2 is just double the 2. It is 4. 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 4, it's just 4 added to itself is 8. 2 times 5 is 10. 2 times 6 is 12, right? You don't have to do them in order. It's better if you can do it in in a random order, so you can recall them at random. It doesn't have to follow a pattern. Like for example, you can do 2 times 9 equals what? Equals 18, because if you do 2 times 10, it should be 10 plus 10, which is 20, right? This is 2 less, so that should be 18. See that? Anyway, so learn the 2's for this week. Okay, each day do 3 of them. And remember, when you learn those 3, think of the facts, related facts. Like learn the 2. So learn 2 times 1, and then all the way up to 2 times 10. But it doesn't have to be in that order. And if you finish it, go on to the 3. Okay, if you can recall that and the related facts, where that if you know that 2 times 8 equals 16, then 8 times 2 equals 16. 16 divided by 2 equals 8. 16 divided by 8 equals 2. Okay, learn all of those. Then once you know all of those related facts and the fact all the way up to 2 times 10, then you can go to the 3 times something. Anyway, if you have any question, please leave a comment, and then I'll try to get back to you. Okay, try that out and see how that works. If you find this helpful, please like and subscribe, and we'll try to fine-tune the process next time. Okay, try it out, get started. School is gonna be in session soon. Okay, bye for now.